Notes for August 2022. Okay, part A. Set writing and sentence construction. Okay, so part one is question tags. Question tags are just that you make a statement and then at the end of the statement you add sort of a question to it, right? Just to confirm. So that's just known as a question tag. So number one is I told you, didn't I? So here the question tag is didn't I? So did I not tell you? So instead of making two statements, one statement and a question, you just combine them and you make it all in one question, and that's known as a question tag at the end. So some people would say, I told you no, right? So no, so like this no is in many languages, right? So question tag is no, although it's incorrect and not good English, but sometimes you will hear people using it, right? And the question tags are very common in many languages. All right, so number two is your camera has no focus, does it? So that's the correct statement, yeah. So how do you check if the question tag is correct? So your camera has no focus, or your camera does not have focus. So does it have focus? So here you have made one statement and a question. Right, so that's how you check it. Does it have focus? Does it? So instead of saying does it have focus and making an entire new question, you just combine the statements and you put a question tag at the end. However, these two are incorrect. Your camera has no focus. Is it? Because is it have focus is not correct. Your camera has got no focus. Do it. Right, so that's slang. Even though it's not official, you won't get it right in a test, but people use it as slang. Your camera has got no focus. Do it. And super slang is your camera ain't got no focus. Do it. Right, so you will hear people speaking it, and sometimes you might have to speak like that, but it's not correct in the test and it's not official. All right, part two is either or, neither nor, and so either or either, same with neither or neither. Right, so either or. When you use that in a sentence or in a statement, it means one of the two. You have two options, and you want to indicate one of them. And neither nor is none of the two. You have two options and you take none of them. So is both. All right, so let's see. Number one, person A says, so we were laughing throughout the movie. Person B, so do we. No, not so do we. The correct sentence is we were laughing throughout the movie, and person B says, so were we. We were laughing as well, or we were laughing too. And the main verb is to be, were, right? It's not do, it's to be. So were, we were. Right. Number two is my kids don't like vegetables or veggies. Person B says neither are mine. So that's not correct. So the correct is my kids don't like veggies, neither do mine, because the main verb over here is do. It's not to be, it's do. Number three, person A says everyone agreed. Person B, so does Andy. No. So even though the main verb is do, the tense is incorrect. It should be so did Andy, because it is everyone agreed. That means did agree, agreed. It's past tense, so the second person has also got to be speaking in the same tense. Right. Number four, I've never eaten this before. Neither do I. So I have never eaten this. I've never eaten this is perfect tense, present perfect tense. So for present perfect tense, to validate the requirements of present perfect tense, the main verb has to be have. Right, you can't have perfect tense if you begin with do, or the first verb is do. So I've never eaten this before, nor have I. Okay, so number five, she wouldn't come. So she wouldn't come, she would not come. So neither does he. Again, the main verb is would over here. So she wouldn't come, nor would he. Right, so six, she could come. So could he. Right, so she could come, so could he. So Why don't we have no over here? We have she could and so could he, because could is positive. The other sentences, the first person or person A was speaking in the negative terms, right? It was a negation, right? So, but here it's she could, so there's no indication of either, there's no indication of neither, so it becomes so could he, both of them could come. 7, I'm really curious, person B, so do I, incorrect, I'm really curious, I am curious, to be, am. I am, you are, he, she, it is, alright, so am I. They should do it, so do you. Again, we have to use should. They should, so should you. Again, the main verb is a modal. It's should in this case. Number 9. Bob has a blue car, so have Charlie. Right, so what is the main verb over here? You might think it is has, but it is not has. The main verb is do. So Bob does have a blue car. Right, so does Charlie. So don't get confused between has and do. Right, so you can't make a sentence so have Charlie. So does Charlie, because the main verb is do. It's simple tense. How do you check it? Suppose you are confused. Bob has a blue car. Suppose you think the main verb is has. Then you write the answer. Person B also says so have Charlie. So how do you check it? So just make a question out of every statement can have a question, right? So what would the question be? So have Charlie a blue car? No, that's not correct. So does Charlie have a blue car? That would be the correct sentence. Hence, so have Charlie is incorrect. Always check your answers by making or constructing questions. Or check your questions by giving the answers or statements. And finally, number 10, I can't drive and neither does my husband. So here, I can't, I cannot. So can and cannot. So I can't drive and nor is my husband. So here you have used do, so here now you've used is, so that's not correct. So I can't drive and nor can my husband. So that's it for part 2. Let's go on to part 3 of part A, modals. So I didn't hear that. Can you repeat it? So like I said, modals just have varying degrees of what you want to express or what you want to say, what your point is. So can you repeat it is okay. It's not bad. It's not incorrect. But usually you would say, could you repeat it? Could you repeat it is much more polite. It's much more formal, and you will get it correct in a test. Can you repeat it? You might not get that correct in a test. Right? Could you repeat it is much better. Right? So I didn't hear that. Could you repeat it? Or I didn't get that. Could you please say it again? Could you kindly repeat it? Right? So any of these 3 options is good. Okay, number 2, you mustn't give me a lift. I can call a cab. Right? So again, that's okay. It's not bad. It's in specific circumstances, in specific situations, it would be correct. It would be constituted correct. However, usually it would not be very good. Usually, especially in a test, you won't get it right. So you needn't give me a lift. Not you mustn't, you needn't. Right? Because I can catch a cab or I can call a cab. Right? I can telephone the taxi company or the cab company. So that's much better. Number 3, you may not drive fast. We have enough time. Again, it's okay, but it's very specific to the situations. Which we may is usually used for permission. Right, so you need not drive fast. We have enough time. That's much more normal. That's much more commonly used. And in a test, that's what they're looking for. They're not looking for specific situations in a test. In a test, they just want to see what would you normally or what would you normally use or say, or what is the most common thing or the most common modal that's used. It's very generic. It's not specific. It's very generic. So I want a computer at home, I can buy one. Again, over here, the same thing. So I want a computer at home, I can buy one, right? Yeah, but you won't usually say that to a friend, right? Or to anybody you're talking to. I want a computer at home. I want it, I must buy one. I need it, I must get it, right? So that's that. So when you use a modal, so you have to, let me put two, you have to insert another verb which acts as a bare infinitive. So we did bare infinitive a long time ago. It does not change the tense. Bare means without anything, right? Without anything on. There's bare, right? So with modal, you can do, you must do, you can go, you must go, right? You have to insert another bare infinitive. All right, and number two, modals have varying degrees. It all depends on the situation and the strength. So, like I said, uh, you may not drive fast, or you need not drive fast. Both of them are correct, but they have the degrees are different. What you're trying to express, what you're trying to say, changes with the modal. So be careful with them. Right. So now part four: to do something versus doing something. Let's get the basics right once and for all. Right. So suppose you make a sentence. I am watching TV. Right. So I am watching TV. What are you trying to say? What is your main point? Right. The main point is, or your main action is that you're watching TV. Right. That's what you're trying to convey. If you said I'm trying to watch TV, your main action is that you're trying to watch TV. Right? You're trying. That's your main action. Trying. Not watching, you're trying to watch it. However, in the first sentence, I am watching TV. Your main action is you are actually watching it. You're watching it indeed, right? Number two, I am going. So again, excuse me. I am going as the main action you're trying to indicate, what you're trying to say, what you're trying to express is go. Right? I am going. I am on my way, right? Something like that. I am traveling, whatever. If you said I want to go, the main action becomes want. You're not going, but you want to go. She jumped out. Again, she jumped out, indeed. And she wanted to jump out. So don't confuse them. Like the sentence was, I tried riding his bike. And somebody wrote, I tried to ride his bike, I liked it. That's not correct. Right? So I tried riding his bike, I liked it. That's better. That's in fact correct because the main action is right. Whether you wrote it indeed. Right. So we did this. So I just put it here. Useful phrases: a crew without any loyalty or morality or morals is better. Over here, morality is okay. They turn on you. We saw the meaning of that: turning on someone. Sleep with one eye open. So they are bitter about the fact that they lost the war. They feel bitterness. You're fodder. They look slick. They used to drop bombs on shacks to flush out the enemy. So they've been patronizing, should be patronizing, because they've been patronizing each other. It's gone to his head. When something goes to your head, you become proud and proud of that fact. All right, so improving writing, original sentences. Let's see. It's nice that we are going to work together about a topic, but if you want, we can choose it. That's a bad sentence. The first one is okay. The first one was all right, but the second one is just about a topic. But if you want, we can choose it. It's quite confusing. It's not even grammatically correct. So instead of saying so great to be working with you, no, but I think that we ought to choose another topic, as that one is being covered or presented by too many of our classmates. I think we should opt for something that no one else is doing. Right. So now it's much better. Number two is the original sentence somebody wrote was, we only have 2 weeks to prepare, but I'm sorry I'm busy tomorrow. How about the next 2 days? I will be free that day. So here you're talking about next 2 days, but suddenly it becomes one day. That specific day, only one day. Right. So instead of say, using so many words and getting nowhere, sorry I can't. I have to go to my, so it should be aunt's house to take care of a baby or to babysit my nephew or niece. Right? She has quite a lot of things planned to do. So I'm saying she scheduled or planned. Right. On that day or then. All right. Okay. So this can be improved even further, but let's leave it at that. Okay, number three, original. We can prepare the presentation at my house. My parents won't be home at the moment. So my at my house. My parents won't be home at the moment. Which moment? At the moment is usually continuous tense, and it doesn't fit into the sentence at all. So it makes it bad. It makes it confusing. So we can prepare the presentation at my house. My parents won't be home. Or we can prepare the presentation at my house. My parents won't be home then, right? Or at that time, not at that, or at the moment, at that time. Right, number 4 is the original was maybe we should go to the library near school so that we can easily find books about space and it's also a quiet place. Okay. We could go to the college library as there we'd be able to find books related to a topic. It's quiet too. Now you see it's much shorter and the information is very precise, it's very crisp. How about preparing it at the college library? It's very well equipped and I'm sure that'll be of great help to us. Again, so these two sentences are much better. In fact, they're quite good, and the original sentence that wasn't very easy to understand, wasn't very clear. 5 is original sentence. I would prefer giving our presentation to the class in the afternoon as we'll have more time to prepare it. Okay, it's not a bad sentence. It's just all right. So I would prefer giving a presentation to the class in the afternoon as that'll give us a bit more time to sort out the final nitty-gritty, or just the nitty-gritty. You can delete final, in fact. Right, so I would prefer giving a presentation to the class in the afternoon as that'll give us a bit more time to sort out the nitty-gritty. So all of this sentence is longer, it's smoother, and it conveys to the examiner or to the checker that you are familiar, you are well versed with the vocabulary and all that stuff. Right, so that's that for part A. Vocabulary, spelling, pronunciation, part B. Okay, remember I before E except after C. So receipt, deceit. So I before E except after C. So here it's after C, therefore I goes after E. Similarly here it's after C, so I goes after E. However here medieval, right, it's I before E because there isn't a C before that. There is no C over here. Right, so it becomes IE. So remember that rule, I before E except after C, and do not get confused anymore. Right, so that should be part 2 is vocabulary. So we did all these words. If you've forgotten the meanings, look them up in the dictionary. Catastrophe, number 2, vault, heist, seed vault. We saw that where that was past winds. So that's sort of a phrasal verb. Flattery, resources, energy resources, Mason, fraternity, brotherhood, secret society, conspiracy. 14, piracy. 15, martini. 16, mutiny. So 15 is martini and 16 is mutiny. 17 is a gang of thieves. 18 is a buccaneer. 19 is a pirate. And 20 is incompetent. So if you want to do the pronunciation, just revise this thing in the video, revise this section in the video or the segment, whatever you call it. Okay, and part 3 of part B is pronunciation. All right, so the river. This is the river. It's the Thames. All right, the Thames. Don't say Thames or whatever some other pronunciation. It's the Thames. Right. It isn't pronounced as it's spelled, like a lot of words. Right. So it's the Thames. And Wiltshire, not Wiltshire, although it is spelled Shire. It's pronounced Wiltshire. Wiltshire. Right, so that seems to be the end of these notes. Just write the notes in your book. Watch this video again. I'll see you in the next one.